United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres is in Kenya. It's part of a trip to the continent that will see him meet with several leaders to discuss regional issues. Guterres' visit comes as famine threatens many African countries. South Sudan is among the worst affected, and many have blamed rebel factions for the humanitarian crisis. Guterres is currently pushing for a new strategy to end South Sudan's three-year war. It's the first time Guterres is visiting the continent in his capacity as UN Secretary General. He was in Kenya and Somalia 2 years ago as the UN High Commissioner for Refugees. Let's get you more on that story now. I'm joined live here in the Nairobi studios by Dr. Caspar Chege. He's a senior advisor at the Africa Policy Institute. Dr. Chege, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Penny.
So what's the significance of Antonio Guterres visiting Kenya?
It signifies his promise. In his inaugural speech, he said that he would personally see that conflict resolution and development, especially in Africa, was sought out the right way. And one of the significant things, it shows Kenya's prominence in the regional conflict resolution role. And so he's coming here, is going to show Kenya's role, and he's also going to show the importance of the situation going on in South Sudan.
Right, let's talk about South Sudan, that you brought it up, because that's the biggest concern right now here in the region,
Yes.
getting aid to the most affected.
Yes.
So what kind of help is Guterres expecting from Kenya?
So Guterres is expecting Kenya to get back in its role. As you know, Kenya had pulled out because of some disagreements with the UN. So he's going to expect Kenya to play a mediation role. He's going to expect Kenya to be able to play some diplomatic role in order to make it easier for the UN to enter in and to supply the needed aid that is needed by the people right now.
Let's talk about the Dadaab refugee camp, because Kenya did decide to shut it down.
Yes.
Do you think this discussion will come up in the talks between Guterres and Kenya? And what kind of promises maybe will Guterres make to Kenya in order to entice Kenya not to shut down the refugee camp?
Most definitely, it's going to come up. Guterres named Africa as the vital place that he needs to play a role in his conflict resolution and peace diplomacy. And I believe it's going to come up, but it's a tough question because Kenya has to think about its security first. And Guterres knows this. And Kenya is very stunned at wanting to shut it down. The only difference now is for him to offer some things. For example, the UNDP position is open, where Amina or somebody like Professor Lumumba could fill. And he can also give more vital place, especially when the UN did pull our Lieutenant General Ondieki out. So he could make some positions available for Kenya to take up its vital role in diplomacy. So that's his strongest hand at this point in time.
Right.
Yes.
Dr. Caspar Chege, as always, a pleasure having you in our studios.
Thank you.